As we go through these places, you might be thinking, I'm happy too, but you didn't talk about my home state. I agree. My state wasn't on this list either, but I'm happy. I mean, why wouldn't I be? I have a big boat, a big truck, and I eat at amazing restaurants. I mean, that's what YouTube stardom gets you, right? Now put down the Prozac and put a smile on your face as we talk about America's happiest states. Let's get started with our first stop on our happy journey through America, Arkansas. Arkansas? Why the hell are they so happy in Arkansas anyway? Well, apparently Arkansas people think they're happy. Kind of makes sense. Here in Arkansas, lots of people can afford to buy a home, first of all, and 26% of residents own their home, which is the fourth highest number in the U.S. The cost of living is the second lowest in the country too. The unemployment rate's really low, and while residents here aren't loaded, and a lot of them are comfortable, I guess, crime is also the 13th lowest in the country. Holy crap, there's a place called Happy, Arkansas. That's about as middle in the nowhere Arkansas as you can get. There aren't even any pictures of this place. You have to do a Google Maps street view. This is it, right on the corner of Main Street in downtown Happy, Arkansas. Whoever lives there is probably really happy. Our next happy place brings us way out west to Utah, where residents reported being 9th happiest in the nation. Now, this is interesting because recently we did a few videos that Utah ranked highly on. We called Utah the 7th most boring place to live in the US. The Beehive State, that's lame, leads the nation for number of married households with kids. You can sure bet that after 8 p.m. most nights, it's lights out for the entire state. We also determined Utah is the 8th most conservative state in America too. Utah and Oklahoma tie with the least number of blue counties in their states, 0. So Utah's happy because they're a bunch of boring conservatives? Sounds about right. Utah's happy index is also pretty solid. They have the 6th lowest unemployment rates and they're 10th best for educated residents and commute times. Utah's also 4th in the country for number of married households. So it sounds like Utah's a place where all the boring married Republicans live. In the past, that didn't always mean people were happy though.
And then howling, which was his way of warning his master, who was my Uncle Sport, that there was gonna be an earthquake.
Let's skip and jump and frolic around as we get to our next happy state, North Dakota. What? Okay, is there a pattern here? We called North Dakota one of America's most boring and conservative states too. Here, 86% of the population is white. If you look at the numbers, North Dakota has a high number of married homeowners who hold a decent but low-paying job. There's a ton of oil jobs in the area, so work is steady and folks are comfortable there. I mean, the only thing you have to fight about in these parts is who has to clean up the windshield every morning. One leading website said North Dakota is the happiest state in the country, moving up 19 spots from last year's list, passing Hawaii up. The only ding for the Rough Rider state is the surge in the state's homeless population. But homeless people aren't measured in this study because they aren't counted. Tiny happy people holding hands. Just outside of Vermont is the tiny happy state of New Hampshire. Now, people in Vermont might think they're somewhat satisfied in life, but the folks in New Hampshire are just peachy keen. Thank you very much. If family comforts are your recipe for happiness, then New Hampshire's your place. People in New Hampshire are 5th highest in education, 5th lowest in commute times, and 6th least poor overall. Oddly, New Hampshire has the fewest number of homeowners in the country. Why is that? That's another video. One thing that doesn't make people happy in New Hampshire is mud season. That's just plain gross. Between winter and spring, the snow melts here, leaving a sloppy, nasty pile of mud everywhere. Mud season's no joke. It messes up your cars, your shoes, everything. It can make even the happiest people frown. There's a place called Happy Corner, New Hampshire. This is it, pretty much a campground and a cafe. Which Americans claim to be the 6th happiest in the country? Minnesota did, that's who. I'll bet people in Minnesota are probably jumping up and down right now when they see this. Kinda makes sense. In Minnesota, lots of the population's married with kids. That's cool. And Minnesota ranks above average when it comes to number of good jobs. When just about everyone has a good job, they can focus on more important matters. You know, stuff like watching the Twins games, who to start in fantasy football, and who's doing what on Facebook. Actually, those things might make you more stressed out. Never mind. There's certainly not a bunch of happy drunks. Looks like Minnesota guy's the one at the bar sipping on Bud Light, while all his Midwest buddies are doing shots all around him. Just north of New Mexico and east of Utah is the sprawling state of Colorado, who claim to be in the top 5 for happiness. If you know anyone who lives here, you're probably well aware of how great their life is because they probably brag about it on Facebook all the time. Makes sense. Colorado essentially ranks at the top of 3 separate categories we measured. They have the lowest unemployment rate, the highest number of educated residents, and the shortest commute times in the nation. Close to 90% of residents commute less than 30 minutes to work every day. Traffic alone can make a man go crazy. People in Colorado get to sleep in later, get home earlier, and probably eat all sorts of edibles. Colorado's 5th in home ownership in the nation too, but the cost of living's kind of high. Other things Colorado people like? Well, there's lots of places to hike and ski. That's cool. Outside of Pueblo, yuck, crime is pretty low here, and it might be the sunniest state too. Cue John Denver. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Okay, I can't sing. There's definitely no forced smiles here, unless you're a Broncos fan. Welcome to Connecticut, the 4th happiest place in the state of America. What makes Connecticut such a happy place to live? If you're motivated, the job scene's great. In fact, if you live in Connecticut and you can't find work, it's because you're not trying hard enough. And like a couple of the other states we talked about, there's a high number of married people who have jobs close to home in Connecticut. Wallet Hub did a study a while back where they measured emotional and physical well-being. Connecticut was in the top 10. That means there's a lot of emotionally stable people who are in shape there. I don't know how to read that. Connecticut is the 5th richest state in America too. People who say money doesn't buy happiness are wrong. Yes, it does. And it buys security and peace of mind too. However, in Connecticut, it seems to be the haves and the have-nots. There's a lot of people with a lot of money here and a high number of poor people too. Should they share their wealth? Let us know in the comments below. Who claims to be the 3rd happiest people in the country? The people in Washington raised their hands. This medium-sized Idaho suburb is certainly a place most people would want to live, according to the numbers. This might seem puzzling. After all, isn't Seattle one big noisy, crowded mess? Yeah, but apparently the rest of the state's doing just fine, according to their own poll. While most of the other states on this list were pretty much at extremes, like ranking high on a few categories and really low in another, Washington is pretty much above average in everything. So then they're just above average happy, I guess. The only category Washington ranks average in is number of homeowners, at an even 1 in 4. People on social media seem to agree. I found this on Twitter. Russ at J_Kelly21 said, "It seems like Washington is a happy place right now, LOL." And as a bonus, there's 3 north faces within a short drive for many, many people in Washington. Score! Practically right next door to North Dakota is Nebraska, where people are apparently a pretty happy little group. It makes sense. Crime is the 6th lowest in the nation. A high number of residents have great jobs, and there's a high number of families with values here. Did you know more people own their home in Nebraska than anywhere else in the country? It's true. This lady's from Nebraska. She seems pretty happy. It's a friendly place, Nebraska is. Everyone knows everyone, and families get along just great over steak, potatoes, and corn every night. What's not to be happy about? All of Nebraska is just like one big comfy living room with a fire going. Nebraska's like a perfectly cooked tot. No wonder they had the 2nd highest number of happy boxes checked in the latest polls. And our happiest state in America is Idaho, a state full of smiles and hugs. To get there, take a desolate highway in from one of many western states. You know when you get there, it'll be pretty obvious. Jobs are good here, so they got that covered. Crime is low, so you can rest easy at night, not having to worry about getting robbed. Home ownership is high, and family values seem to be a priority. Idaho also ranks in the top 5 for a number of sunny days in the US too. Idaho ranked really high in all the things we measured, actually. What's interesting is this is the 3rd time of the last 5 videos we did that Idaho ranked in the top 5 for something. That's crazy. Idaho's 5th on our list for most conservative states and 1st on our list for most boring states. Draw your own conclusions. No matter how you look at it though, people in Idaho are comfortably safe and sound. Happy land indeed. We should all be happy if you think about it. We're all one text away from our lives changing. So remember that. If you live in Idaho or in any of the other happy states we mentioned, congratulations. If you don't live in one of these states, share this on Facebook and complain about it, you crabby grouch. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America. Peace.